Yeah, good evening, everyone. Everyone is able to hear me? I'm just sharing my screen. Just one. Yeah, just 1 minute. Just 1 minute. So last session, I explained to you about this Docker, right? So I told you, right, let us launch or start Nginx web server, which is hosting small web application, right? So let us launch or start Nginx web server, which is hosting small web application. Okay. Okay. All right. So for that, what is required now? So we should have a Docker file. And from Docker file, we'll get Docker image. And from Docker image, we'll run it as a Docker container. Right? So now I prepared one document, I told you, right? Yeah. If you see here, this is one document, Docker's document I prepared. How to install Docker engine in the Linux based machine. And then see, now I'll try to write one small Docker file, very simple Docker file. So this is your Docker file. Okay, so this I'll save. So this will be saved in file name Docker file. Okay. And what I'll do, I'll copy this Docker file. So I'll copy this Docker file. So where I'll copy this Docker file, I'll copy this to an Ubuntu machine into a virtual machine. Okay. So I will copy, I'll use some file transfer protocol. Yes, FTP tools like FileZilla or WinSCP. Okay, this is in your local system. So this file will be saved in your local system in some C drive or D drive. And you're copying this to the virtual machine. So see, I already have virtual machine in my Google Cloud Compute Engine. Let me start this. Let me start this and let me copy this. Right. What I'll do now, I'll take this and I'll use putty. If I want to connect a remote server, I'll use putty. Putty is one where from your putty is a software. Putty from Windows machine. If we need to SSH, okay, or login to a Linux machine, which is a remote server, which is remote machine with IP address, use putty. See how you'll use putty is a software. So here you can go putty download for Windows. Here you can download putty. Okay. So I'm just giving here and then SSH, select this auth. So this is for actually some key file. Okay. See, if you have password, you don't need all this. I don't have password for this machine, so I'm using key file here. So generally, when you log into a machine, you'll have username, password. So this is the username. See, I'm not giving password because I already added a key here. Okay. Now this is the home path of the machine of this Linux machine. So in this path, see in your how like in Windows you have C drive, D drive. In Linux based operating systems, you'll have the file system path like this /home/ like this, and here you will save the Docker file. Okay. So if I say here, see here the Docker file is there, but this was for my old project. Now for Nginx, I will do like this. So what I'll do now? See, I'm directly typing here. Let me copy this. I'll explain what this does. See what this file will do is, so now I stored where this Docker file in this path. So in this path, this file is stored. So in this path, this Docker file is there. Okay, in this path, the Docker file is there. Right? So now what I'll do, so I installed Docker engine in this virtual machine. In this machine, I installed Docker engine. How I installed? I installed using these commands. just to follow in a Ubuntu machine. In a Ubuntu is a Linux-based operating system. In Ubuntu machine, I installed Docker engine using these commands, these bold color commands, bold highlighted commands, right? So here I installed Docker engine. Install Docker engine. So once I install Docker engine, I'm able to now, so we can run Docker commands. We can run Docker commands, okay? So my Docker file is there here. So if I have Docker file, according to yesterday's step, if you see, according to yesterday's step, if I have Docker file, so using Docker build, I can create a Docker image. Okay, using Docker build. So Docker file will be the input. And Docker file is the input. Okay, Docker file is the input. And so when I say Docker build command, this will create Docker image. Okay. And what is a Docker image? As I told you, Docker image is a library. It is a bundle of all the libraries that are required to run the application. Now you see, now let me explain you this process now. What does a Docker file contain? This instruction. Your Docker file will contain this one. Your Docker file will contain this. Right. If you see here, from copy. If you see here, see from is like first always your Docker file will have from. See, Docker file always starts with from instruction. So what do you mean by from is, from will pull the base image. Base image. So in this, what is your base image? NGNX. As I told you, what is the requirement of, see, this Docker file will keep on changing for different requirements. My requirement in this project is, I want to set up an NGNX base server, in NGNX server, and in that I have to deploy a small web application. NGNX is a web server. Just like your Tomcat web server, NGNX is a web server. Now, so from will pull the base image. What is the base image here? NGNX. See, this is again a Docker image, a Docker image with this name NGNX. Okay. So what from will do is, from will search for the image in the Docker cache. So where is your Docker cache present? Your Docker cache is present in this, when you install Docker engine. So this Docker cache is present here in the, as a part of the Docker engine. So your Docker cache is present here. So this is your Docker cache. Here is your Docker cache, right? Now, so first it will check. So first it will check this NGNX image present in the Docker cache. So first it will check if NGNX image is in Docker cache. Okay. If not in Docker cache, this will connect to Docker Hub. Docker Hub, which is a central Docker repository, and pull the image from Docker Hub. So if I open Docker Hub now, see. So first it will check whether this nginx is present in this Docker cache. If not present, it will connect to the Docker Hub. See, Docker Hub is like, I'll show you. See, Docker Hub means it contains so many predefined images. See, hub.docker.com. It contains so many predefined thousands of predefined Docker images, that softwares you need. Suppose I need nginx, that is present as a Docker image here. So Ubuntu OS itself is a Docker image. Python, Redis, Postgres database, Node.js, Mongo, Memcache, MySQL. You can set up MySQL Docker image. Okay, MariaDB, RabbitMQ, OpenJDK, your Java JDK software, OpenJDK. Okay, Golang, WordPress itself, CentOS. So PHP, like that. If you navigate, you'll get thousands of predefined Docker images, and all these are all open source public Docker images. These doesn't need any license or any third-party license to download this. So these are all publicly available Docker images. Now, if you see, my image is nginx, where nginx is your web server. It's a web server, and actually see nginx. This is the base image. The image name itself is nginx. So I specify now here like this, from nginx. See, from nginx. So what it will do now, if it will check whether this nginx image is in the Docker cache. If not, it will connect to the Docker Hub and pull that image and store that in the Docker cache, and it forms a base image. Now this is a nginx base image. nginx base image. So that means this line. So see, your Docker build command will read line by line of this Docker file. So this is a Docker build command. This command reads line by line of Docker file. Okay. So first it reads this file. First it reads this file in this line, and after completing this line, say a base image is formed. That means, and before going to the second line, in the backend, from this base image, an intermediate temporary container is created. An intermediate temporary container is created, which is your nginx. So this is a kind of a server, okay, a nginx container. Now when it comes to the second command, second line, now what it will do, it will copy. So copy command, what it does is, it will copy this file. This is your file present in the host machine. So this file is present in the host machine. What is your host machine here? It's virtual machine. So this file. So that means from wherever this command, this Docker build command is executing in this path. So in this path, so this is your host machine. So in this path, there should be index.html, and this HTML is written by you. This is your small web application, small HTML application that is written by you actually. So in the same path, you will have one more file called index.html. Okay. Okay, now what this copy command will do is, this will copy this HTML file. This will copy this HTML file into this nginx container, See, when this Nginx container is started, right? So it will have its predefined path. This is a server actually. Okay, this is Nginx server. So this is having a built-in path, which is actually /user/share nginx/htm. So this is the built-in path that is already available in the Nginx server. Okay, if you copy any HTML file into this path, you can open a web application. You can run as a web application. So what I'll do now? So I'll copy this index.html, which is present in the host machine. So this copy into this is part of your container. So this path is present in the container. This path is present in the container. So now what copy command will do, you know? So copy command will copy command will copy the file from the host machine path to the container path. Okay. Now what I'm doing, whatever the file that is present in this index.html in this host machine, I'm copying this to this. That means now index.html is copied here. Now after completing this line, now this also will be converted to an image, and that will be built on top of this Nginx image. So finally, you will have an image after completing this Docker file execution. So you'll have an Nginx base image. And on top of that, you'll have one more image, which is your copy. Index.html copy to the index.html copy to Nginx path. So finally, these two form a base image, and these two form a Docker image. A Docker image. Okay, as I told you, Docker image is built on layer by layer. If you see here, yes, I told you in the last Friday session. A Docker image is formed layer by layer. Okay. See, first you see. So first, okay. So as I told you, it is formed layer by layer. Okay. Now, so this is your Docker image. So first, you'll have Nginx base image, and on top of that index.html copy. Now this is finally form a Docker image. That means after completing this file, you'll get a Docker image, and that will be stored in the Docker cache. Okay, that will be stored in the Docker cache. And now, once a Docker image is available in the Docker cache, then what you do? Then you give one more command here. You give one more command here, Docker run command. You give one more command here, Docker run command. So where this Docker run command, so this will start the Docker container from the Docker image. Whenever I say Docker container, in this example, it is Nginx server hosting your HTML file. This will start the Docker container from Docker image. In this example, it is Nginx server hosting the HTML file, your HTML file, right? So now let us now do that. So I already have a Docker file now. Docker file. I have this now. So how I'll use Docker build command is, see, sudo is like the root user. So sudo is like root user. Okay. Sudo means it is a root user whenever I access this virtual machine. Sudo Docker build -t I'll give like my nginx app. Okay, dot. You know what is this T? T indicates the tag, image tag. And this is the name of the image. I can give any name to this. And dot refers the current path where your Docker file is there. So Docker build. So if I take this command, okay. If I take this command, so what it does? So this is the image name. This is the image name or image tag. And dot refers the current path where Docker file is present. Okay, where Docker file is present. So my Docker file is present in the same path where this Docker build command is executed. Okay. Now what I'll do, I'll just enter it. So I think this index.html is not present. This is my own HTML file where it is not present. That's why it got failed actually. So let me create this index.html. So what I'll do, see, I'm not using this SFTP FileZilla or WinScript tool, directly typing here. Okay. HTML. Otherwise, I can create a file in my Windows system and copy here using this. So HTML. So body. I'll give like H2. So this is DevSecOps 4th batch session. H2 body HTML. That's all. So this small HTML file, I wanted to run this as a web application. This is a body and this is a bold color. I'm putting this. This is a small HTML file. Okay. Hope you know basics of HTML, right? So I'll just now again build this. Now you see. So now the successfully tagged. Now I'll say sudo docker images. See, you can see this my nginx app got created, and this is the image ID. Okay, sudo docker images. I'll share the list of docker commands also. See, first sudo docker build -t my nginx app dot. So this builds docker image. Okay, this is the first command. Right. Second command is so list the docker images. Sudo docker images. Okay, this is the docker image. Now to check whether the image is present or not. Now, what is the next step? Now docker image, from docker image we have to use the run command, right? If you see docker run command, we have to do. So for that, what I'll do now, I'll say sudo docker run. Okay, I'll say now p 8080:80. I'll tell you what is this 8080:80, my nginx app. I'll say like this. Now your container is started. See what I have done is see. Sudo is your root user permission. Okay. So what I'll do now, this command sudo docker run -p 8080. See, this is the image name. Whatever the image that has been built, this is the image name, image tag or image name. Right. And this is your host machine port. Host machine port. And this is your container port. So this is your container port. And P is your port mapping. This P is port mapping. Right. So what we are doing this is, see, now I have virtual machine. This is my virtual machine. Or okay, virtual machine or your physical machine, in whatever your host machine. Now in this virtual machine, I launched the Docker container. So I can launch as many Docker containers here. Just 1 minute. Okay. So in this virtual machine, I can launch as many Docker containers I have. Okay. Now this is my one container, which is your nginx container running your HTML file. And this container by default, it runs in port 80. So this container port is port 80. This container port is 80. Okay. Now, this virtual machine will be having an IP address. What is the IP address of this virtual machine? Here I can get the IP address, external IP address. So this is the IP address of this machine. This is the external IP address. Okay, this is the IP address. Now from my browser, which is in your laptop or somewhere, from your browser, now you have to connect to this nginx server and run open your application, that index.html. So what I'll do is I'll just connect to this machine. In this browser, I type http://8080. I'll say like this. This is the I'll type like this in my browser. So this is your host. This is your host machine port. Now that means there will be one port opened here, which is 8080 port. This is your host machine port. Now, while running the Docker container, I specified a port mapping that whatever the request comes to this host machine port, redirect that request to this nginx port, which is in container port 8080. That means the host machine port 8080 is mapped to container port. That means the requests that are coming from your browser on this host machine port 8080 will be redirected to this container port 80. That's all. So if you want, I'll type UC. So what I'll do, so 8080. Now you see, whatever the index.html web application that I have put, this is DevSecOps 4th batch session. See, that has been displayed here. A small, I deployed only small HTML page. Like that, you can deploy a very big application also, big web application. But I deployed a small HTML page and I got this. So you can also try accessing this. So this will be accessed by from any system. See, try this. I sent you the URL for everyone. You are able to access? Okay. So this is how actually so it means whatever the host machine I'm accessing now, this host machine port, now the request will send to this container port 80. Like that, in this virtual machine, I can launch multiple containers. In a single virtual machine, I can launch this is your Nginx web server. I can launch a database. I can launch one more server. Like that, I can launch multiple containers in this virtual machine. Okay. So this is how the command takes place. So run the Docker image or run the Docker container from Docker image. So I'll say sudo docker run -p 8080:80. I'll say my nginx app. Okay, these are run the container from Docker image. And the fourth one is like, suppose I want to see the containers running. I'll say sudo docker ps. So I'll say now, just so just to see whether the containers are running or not. So I'll say sudo docker ps. See my container is running here. You see, to see the list of containers running. If I want to stop this, sudo docker stop. So just give this container ID. This will stop. So this will not. This will stop. Okay, this will stop. So to stop the container, I'll say so this will list the containers running. Sudo docker ps. So list the docker containers running. These are basic commands. So to stop docker container, I'll say sudo docker stop. I'll give the container ID. Okay. Sudo docker stop container ID. Okay. Okay. So these are the basic commands. Okay. So that's all about the Dockers. See, Dockers, if I want, Dockers is a very vast subject, but you don't need all that complexities and all that. You should understand what is what. Okay. So with this, the Dockers is completed. So the next tool is okay. The next tool is ELK, which is Elasticsearch Logstash Kibana. This is the tool. How many of you have idea of this, having idea on this tool, ELK? How many of you are having idea on this tool? Anyone is having idea on this tool? ELK. Right. So okay, let me stop this servers, otherwise it will be charged for me. All right. So now let me now explain you about ELK. This is a centralized logging tool actually. Okay, this is a centralized logging tool. Okay. So what is in ELK we do is, what is a centralized logging tool? See, we know logging library, which we have seen that SLF4J logging library, right? So like that for a Java application, we can use SLF4J and generate log files, right? We have seen this. We have seen this or not, right? We have seen this. Now, suppose in a microservices, though, I mean, I think microservices is a new term. Microservices architectures and solutions. An application can contain multiple Java. An application will contain multiple Java services running in separate servers. Suppose if you take this is an e-commerce based application. This is an e-commerce based application, right? Say you have an order service here. You have a product service, right? You have now your customer service. Customer service. Next, you have order service, product service, customer service, and you have invoice or payment service. Right? Payment service. Okay, you have different. So each service is running its own server, but they comprise one e-commerce based application. This is running its own JVM or its own Tomcat server. Right? Let me draw in a different color. So this is running in its own Tomcat server. 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 See, for e-commerce application, if you think like your Flipkart or your Amazon.com, so each functionality will be part of one microservice. When you say one microservice, it's a separate small project running in its own server. Like this is for your order management. This is for your product related. See, whenever you log into Amazon.com, you'll see the list of products. And once you select a product, you can generate an order. You can purchase that product through order. And that will go to payment. And after payment is done, your order will be successfully completed and the product will be shipped to your delivery address. So these are typical e-commerce based application works. And the architecture behind this is each service, each will be running in its own service. Okay. This will be running its own server. It will be having its own Tomcat, like a Tomcat server or a JVM separate. Whenever it's a Tomcat server, it will be having its own JVM. Right? This will be having its own Tomcat server or JVM. So this will be having its own Tomcat server or JVM. Right? So this will be having its own Tomcat server or JVM like this. Now this is built in Java. This is built, all are built in Java. So here I'll be using SLF4J and generate the log file. So log files will be written somewhere in this path. So SLF4J. So the log files will be written somewhere in this path. So similarly, here I'll use SLF4J. So log file path will be here. Log file will be written here. Similarly, so here also log file will be written somewhere in this path. Here also the same thing. Here also the same thing. Okay. Now each server will be having its own log file for this particular application. And all belongs to one e-commerce based application. That means I have to log into each server and view the log files. Suppose if I want to troubleshoot any issue or any exception. See, what is the purpose of log file? I have explained you. We can log the errors in the log file. We can see the errors, exceptions, and all that, right? So I have to log at each and every service, and I have to view the log files. So instead of logging at each and every service, what I'll do, I can collect all these log files at one location. Collect all these log files at one location. At one location. I can collect all these log files at one location. Okay, this is what we call central logging. This is what we call centralized logging. Centralized logging. Okay. And I can log in, I can view the logs at one place only. I can view the logs of all the services at one place. So this is called centralized logging. So I can view the logs or access the logs. View the logs at one place. Right? So to implement this centralized logging, there are different tools available in the market. If you go to your enterprise things, so what are the different tools used for centralized logging? Okay. One is ELK stack. ELK, which is Elasticsearch, Logstash, Kibana. Next is EFK stack, which is Elasticsearch, FluentBit, Kibana. Right? Then Datadog is there. Then Splunk is there. Okay. These are the different tools that are available in the market. Okay. Similarly, App Dynamics. Right? Like the different tools are there. Right? So now if you see here, Datadog is another tool that is covered in our syllabus in the 13th tool, which is Datadog, you see. Okay, in the 13th tool, we'll cover Datadog. Now, so in our syllabus, we'll be studying this one. Now, in this current course, we are studying this one. In this current tool, we are studying this one. Elastic search log stash Kibana. So how we can achieve centralized logging is, see, basically, now you have different Java applications running, right? So these are different Java services running. Java service 1. Java service 2. Java service 3. Java service 4. Right? Now they generate log files here. Log file 1, log file 1, log file 2, log file 3, log file 4. Okay. Now we can have one log stash agent. So basically, log stash agent. Okay, this is a third-party open source agent. And here we'll write a configuration. So where this configuration, in this will define the input. We'll define the input to this configuration as the log files, which are present in these locations. So this log file is present in some one location. So this log file, sorry. Okay. So this is a log file. So it will collect all these log files. So from this log stash agent, and then this will send this to the output, which is your Elasticsearch. Which is your Elasticsearch. So these are output file. So these are output. So these are input. This is your input. This will send to output as Elasticsearch. And Elasticsearch is a NoSQL database. It is a database which stores all logs, all log files sent by Logstash. Okay. Sent by Logstash. Okay. So database stores all log files sent by Logstash. Okay. Now from here, we can have Kibana dashboard. A Kibana dashboard. So which will connect to this Elasticsearch. Which will connect to this Elasticsearch, where users can log into this Kibana dashboard, can access Kibana dashboard and view the logs at one place. And view the logs at one place. Okay. So this is how this ELK stack comes. So this is your Logstash. This is your Elasticsearch. And this is your Kibana. So this is your Elasticsearch. So this is called ELK stack. See, E starting with ELK. So ELK stack. Okay. So this is so it will collect the log files from different Java applications, and this log stash. So input will be log files and output will be Elasticsearch. Right? And this output will be sent to the Elasticsearch. And this output will be sent to the Elasticsearch. Right? And this output will be sent to the Elasticsearch. And so from here, the data will be, Kibana will pull the data from this Elasticsearch, where users can access this dashboard and view the logs at one place. So this database will store all the log files sent by this log stash at one place. And from Kibana dashboard user interface, we can view the logs. Any doubts here till now? Any doubts or any questions? Any doubts or any questions you have? Yeah. So what is your doubt in Docker? Yeah, what is your doubt in Docker? How to create Docker file to insert file as Java file? Okay. Okay, that is Java file means that is a different Docker file. As I told you, depending on the requirement. So this is for nginx. For Docker file, for Docker Java file, you have to use this Docker file. So you have to set up first. See, for nginx, you need base images nginx. For Java file, you need base images OpenJDK software. For nginx file, you should have nginx image. For JDK file, you should have OpenJDK 8 image, right? OpenJDK base image. And then you have to copy the jar file and then run the Java jar file. That's all. I'll share you this document. I'll upload this document in the Google Classroom link. So what I'll do is tomorrow I'll show you the practicals of this ELK stack. So I'll download this Logstash agent, Elasticsearch, and Kibana, and I'll show you the practicals of this tomorrow. So tomorrow I'm going to show you the practicals of this ELK stack. So this tomorrow itself I'll complete ELK stack, and then tomorrow itself I'll start JMeter. So tomorrow, day after tomorrow, I think in this week we can complete till this 13 tools we can complete. And after that, only three tools will be left. In this week, I can complete all these tools. Okay. All right then. All right then. Okay. So yeah, thank you all. See you tomorrow then. Thank you all.
Recording stopped.